Hey guys, welcome again to the Kansas Flamingo Chef Flock Tales. And we got Panther joining us today because I took stuff off the bar, so it got his attention. So I just want to do a quick little video here and talk about some terms that you may have heard when it comes to bourbons. And some of these terms mean absolutely nothing. Some of them are very specific terms. And one that I will get into later, bottled and bond, is very specific, but let's talk about some of the others. So down here on the end, this is a Jefferson's Reserve, and it says on the bottle, very old Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey, very small batch. Now there's a lot to get into there, but I want to talk about those last three words, very small batch. It literally means nothing. It means whatever the distillery decided a small batch is. Some distilleries might decide that a very small batch is 3 barrels. Some might decide it's 150 barrels. So it really comes down to what the distillery determines the words very small batch to be. Now there's another part on there that we'll see in some of these others, Kentucky straight whiskey. Now that actually means something. It means it was made at one distillery, one location in the state of Kentucky. That's all it means. The next one here says small batch on a Bowman Brothers Virginia straight bourbon whiskey. Same thing. Made in Virginia at one location, distilled and bottled at that location. The word small batch, again, mean literally nothing. All right, how about the next one? This is Wild Turkey Rare Breed, and it says barrel proof. Now that is kind of an interesting one. That means that regardless of how many barrels are involved, when they pour the whiskey from the barrel to the vat to be bottled, they don't add any water. So the proof on the bottle is actually direct from the barrel. It's not watered down to get it to a specific number. And if we put my eyeballs on here for a moment, and on this bottle, it comes in at 116.8 proof. That's 58.4% alcohol. So it's a pretty high alcohol, high proof whiskey, but it's really good stuff. But that's barrel proof is going to be higher, and then it's watered back to get it to a proof number. The next one, Blanton's. Everybody's heard of this stuff. This was the original single barrel bourbon that was marketed to the public. And what that means is they take one barrel, pour that barrel, and bottle it. They don't mix barrels. There's no blending. There's no watering. So on the label, you're going to see the day and the barrel number, where it came from, and what it proofed out at in that particular barrel. And that's why you're going to have different flavors in different bottles of Blanton's or any other single bourbon or single barrel whiskey for that matter, because each barrel is going to be a little bit unique. The next one's kind of interesting. You may have heard of Oak and Eden products. Oak and Eden are finished whiskeys, which means it goes from one barrel into another barrel to give it different flavor. And in this case, it's toasted oak, which means they took it from its original barrel into another barrel that's toasted. But they also, what makes Oak and Eden interesting is there is, if you can see it, a piece of wood, a spire floating around in there. And each one of those spires has a different flavoring to give the whiskey something different in character. In this case, toasted oak. All right, the next one here, we get right back to another, but there's two things I want to point out here. With this Russell's Reserve, it says straight bourbon whiskey, Kentucky. So made at one facility, distilled and bottled there in Kentucky. But also is the number 10 on the bottom. That 10 actually means how many years the whiskey rested in a barrel prior to being bottled. Now, once it's bottled, it's not going to change unless you just leave the cap off and let it get way too much oxygen in it and destroy it. But it's a 10-year-old whiskey when it was bottled. The next one Same thing. I just wanted to show this is a kind of a combination therein. This is not a bourbon. This is a rye. But if you look at it, it says Whistle Pig single barrel rye 10 years. So again, 10 years in the barrel before being bottled, but a single barrel product. And this is absolutely heavenly stuff, but it should be for what it costs. The last one here is kind of people seem to think it's a new thing. It really isn't, but it says port barrel finished. This particular one is a straight bourbon whiskey finished in port barrels from Virginia, because it's a Isaac Bowman. What makes port barreling interesting is, again, it's a finished whiskey. So it's moved from the original barrel to a port wine barrel, so you leach some of that tannin from the port. Now, this certainly is not the first one. It's a very good one, and there's a lot of them on the market. A very well-known port barrel finish that a lot of people don't even realize is a port barrel finish is Angel's Envy. But over the years, more and more of them have shown up because they can soften that flavor at the end of the whiskey. I hope this has been a little bit educational, useful for you in some way. If you have questions about anything regarding bourbon, I'm happy to answer those questions. And I'm going to be making bourbon cocktails pretty soon, even though I like it straight. Some people got to break it down. So we'll do that real soon. Have a great day. Eat fabulous. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And by all means, check out my YouTube channels for the food and whiskey. And make sure you stop by my website at kansasflamingochef.com. Drop me a line, bill@kansasflamingochef.com. See you soon.